Hi, very good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our Marketing Institute of Singapore lunchtime webinar again. Today is our 20th session. Let's give ourselves a round of applause. I really want to give a word of thanks to our staff from Marketing Institute of Singapore itself. Well, most of you think that probably would think that, during COVID lockdown period, you probably got nothing to do, staying at home. But not true. Our MIS Marketing Institute of Singapore staff are working very hard. In fact, every day we have sessions at 9, we call it 9 a.m. prayer. Prayer sessions is where we will update on each other on our work in progress projects, including our webinar every day. Okay, so thanks for joining us. Today we've got very good attendees coming in, and of course, Professor Catherine Tay. Hi, ma'am. Nice to see you. She'll be one of our speakers coming up. Okay, and we have some of our council members, earners, and our friends from the Asia Marketing Federation, Madam Sharifah. A very powerful lady. I would say a big sister of mine from Malaysia. Okay, from the Institute of Malaysia Marketing. Okay, so ma'am, welcome again to join us. She's been our attendees every day, and of course, Evelyn Chu. Evelyn Chu, want to let you know you're one of our lucky winners to the books. Okay, which we'll be announcing. Okay, right. Anyway, thanks for joining us again. It's our 20th session. Time really flies, right? Isn't it? So okay, so if you're to like our webinar sessions, lunchtime webinar, which we are doing this in fact to keep your company throughout the lockdown period, right down to a circuit breaker. Some of my friends are already counting down. You say, "Wow, Roger is about like 10 days away or 12 days." Can't wait to come out from the house. Me, on the other hand, I think I'm getting used to working from home. So if you like us, please click on our Facebook. Have the next slide, please. Yes, if you like us, right, do click on our Facebook, Marketing Institute of Singapore Facebook. Yeah, like us and share what we are having for our lunchtime webinar. Not just our lunchtime webinar, because from time to time we'll be making announcement on what the community is doing, what MIS is doing itself. So yes, see the like button over there. Click on the like, okay, and share with us, so that more people can benefit from our lunchtime webinar. Okay, all right. So yeah, do that for us, Ken. All right. In fact, this is our third series of free webinar sessions that we are providing for everyone. And I make it a point to actually come for every sessions to host it. Although today I'm a bit under the weather, don't worry, no COVID. Even if I've got COVID, you will not get it. So as you can see, our third series of speakers, we had Jack Yao, Eugene Xia. That was yesterday. Yesterday's sessions was interesting. In fact, some of my crew or staff feel very motivated after that. They were telling me, "Boss, wow, very motivated after Eugene." Well done, Eugene. Round of applause. Okay. And of course, today we have none other than Dr. or Professor Ang Peng Hua. He'll be touching on the topic on marketing through social media, getting it legally right. Interesting to hear from him. Okay, so tomorrow we'll be having Mr. Donald Lim coming from Manila, Philippines. Donald is one of the C-suite in CBN. So you may want to hear more from him. He's one of the speakers which personally invited by me, and I'm very glad he has accepted our invitation to come as our webinar speakers, lunchtime webinar. And after Donald, on the my eyes a bit blurred, 21st of May itself, we'll be having Allens, one of our regular trainer. Okay, you will be able to hear more. What's interesting is on the 22nd of May, that's where Mr. Bavik, used to be he was the vice president of the Marketing Institute of Singapore. So we were working very closely on some of the projects for a couple of years. So he's sort of a partner of mine also. Likewise to the rest of the councils. Yep, they are all my partners, both in crime. No kidding. Okay. Well, having said that, I would like to share with you on the 27th of May. I don't know if I can put up that slide. No. Okay, let's try to put up the slide, CK, if you can. On 27th of May, MIS will be collaborating with the Asia Marketing Federation. Currently, we have 17 countries and regions as a member in the AMF as part of a very exciting Asia Marketing Day 2020. Um, find out that day itself, someone that we know of, very popular among the marketing community, is celebrating his birthday. There's none other than Professor Philip Kotler. And he promised to give us a welcome speech. So look out for it, right? So we'll be starting at 10:30 Singapore time. Okay. Yeah, there you have it. Okay. Asia Marketing Federation celebrates the 89th birthday of Professor Kotler. So we're going to start at 10:30 a.m. So the webinar room will be open at 10 for registrants. Okay. Just turn up. I believe it's going to be a huge turn up. In fact, we signed up the Zoom account for 3,000 people. So we're expecting a huge turnout for this conference itself. So at the same time, celebrating Professor Kotler's 89th birthday. I think you should know who is Professor Philip Kotler. Otherwise, um, then why are you here? No, kidding. He's the father of modern marketing. Other than teaching, he's also a consultant and renowned author of marketing books. Wow. I know, when I took my diploma in marketing itself, or the books that always kept beside my bed is the marketing fundamentals and the marketing strategic management. Yeah, that's both authored by Professor Philip Kotler. So, I have the opportunity to meet up with him when I was in Japan, and in Indonesia. The last I met was last year, end of last year or beginning of this year. Yeah, uh, end of last year. In fact, it was in Bangkok. Thanks to my friend Pierre, he organizes the World Marketing Conference or World Marketing Summit, where Professor Kotler is there, and it was great catching up with him again. Okay, now a quick look at MIS. It's time. MIS itself, we are actually a not-for-profit body. Can I have the next slide, please? uh, Hello. Sorry, I hope my staff not sleeping. Okay, kidding. All right, the executive development program itself. Now, here is where you can actually pick up one of those programs during this period of time. Now, I always like to think that during lockdown period of time, some of my friends are watching Korean drama. Wow, good. You can see really their proficiency in terms of Korean language increases. So I was asking them, so how you'll be dealing with some of the Korean business companies out there, is it? So picking up Korean language at the same time. So for me, I would rather, you probably can consider picking up one of our courses from the executive development program where we have more than 120 over courses. Now we're doing it online, right? So it's easy for you. Over 9 disciplines: sales, events management, that's where I'm from, leadership, marketing, human capital management, business management, communication, service excellence, and personal effectiveness. Like what I said, out of 120 or more than 120, you should be able to pick up something from there that interests you, okay? All right, and during this period of time, it's where you need to beef up. Prepare yourself post-COVID. So you emerge as a winner, champion, getting more skills behind, or, in that you are comfortable with in preparing yourself for the next phase of your work, okay? So, and you can see that red little banner there, like what I always say. We are always very proud as MIS, 5 years in a row. All right, we back the winner of the Singapore corporate trainers training providers. So we got the gold award. Now, if I were you, just check who got the silver award. Yeah, so we are proud as small as we may be, but we provide quality executive program. Okay, so next slide, please. Right. Like what I said, if in today's context, please ensure that you have some form of certification when it comes to digital marketing. So do look out for our advanced diploma in digital marketing offered by MIS, and of course the other 2 diploma, which is the diploma in sales and marketing and diploma in business. Now we are open for registration right now. So don't wait, don't procrastinate. The thing about us is that sometimes we procrastinate and say, oh no, not this time, maybe I don't know what's coming for me. When post-COVID itself, I don't know whether I'll still be employed. This is where I tell you, you should pick up digital marketing skills to ensure that you increase your skill set. All right, so that you remain relevant to the organization. Now, imagine today as a boss itself, you can go back to your boss and tell the boss, hey, you know what? During my lockdown period, I've managed to secure a certification as a digital marketer. I think your boss will probably reconsider before firing you. Okay, right. So pick up that program, find out how. It's easy, right? Not difficult at all. As in, we make it easy for you to attend. It's online right now, I believe. Yes. Okay. The other thing is that of course, to reap the maximum benefit, as being our members. So do join us as our associate members. Our associate members membership fees cost around $100 per annum. So it's like less than $10 a month. Don't tell me you can't even afford $10 a month. Now, if you can't afford, it's fine. We understand. So that's why we're giving it free, all right, for you, to you, during this period of time. It's ending sooner, okay? So it will be ending at the end of May itself. So if you are interested as being our associate member, those are the two numbers that you can see on your screen right now. WhatsApp them. Hey, don't go lah. I'm still around today. Yeah. Okay. So enjoying the 20% up to 30% discount on all our costs. Okay. So please find out more on our free membership. This is to support you for learning from home. Okay. And of course, last but not least, I think you're looking at our mass donation drive. Help us to help the community in Asia itself or ASEAN, our neighbors, Philippines, Manila, where we are doing a mask donation right now. So donate a box of masks for only $20. Scan there, and we will be responsible of bringing the mask to Philippines and ensure that it be given to the underprivileged. I always say this. I think the government ought to give me an award. Our government, Singapore government, are doing a great job in ensuring that everyone actually has a mask, or in fact, more than a mask, 3 masks for now. Okay, so but in Philippines it's a bit challenging. So that's where we want to do our little bit in terms of getting masks, the very basic protection gear to them. So that's where we come up with the mass donation. Now, remember, MIS, we are not for profit. We don't intend to make profit from here. That's our way of giving back to the community as a CSR project. You can always join us. Okay, one box of masks. I think there are 50 masks inside the box, so you'll be able to benefit 50% or 50 packs from a box of masks. So click on the QR code and find out more. Well, I've been talking for the past how long? Okay, now back to our speakers today. Wow, he's my okay. I can tell you he's one of my favorite professor, Professor Ang. I think he spoke in our digital transformation forum. That was like 1 year or more than a year ago. And since then, I tell you, I've been his fan. And Professor Ang loved the way that he speak, and in fact, Professor Ang is currently teaching at the Wee Kim Wee School of Communications and Information at the National Technology University. Nanyang Technology University. I'm talking about NTU. Okay, and in his capacity as a professor, he works on law, policy, media, and the internet. Wow. Now, he was also a member of the United Nations Working Group on the Internet Governance, which he tells me not to bring it up. But, I think we need to highlight that. Okay. Seriously, I think in terms of digital platform, Professor Ang is one of the top, I would say, thought leaders in this area. Now, in Singapore, Prof. Ang is the Vice President of the Consumer Association of Singapore and a legal advisor to Advertising Standard Authority of Singapore itself. There you have it. His accolades definitely worth listening to him. So what's most amazing is that he was the elected president of the International Communication Association during 2016 and 2017, the very first Asian to be elected. So without further ado, let's welcome Professor Ang into the room. Hi, Prof. Ang. You're here, Prof. Ang?
Okay, hi.
Hi. Oh, Professor, like what I said, I have to keep myself prom and proper because you're a professor. But today we're hearing from you on marketing through social media, getting it legally right. Oh, I think it's a very interesting topic, because we don't know what we are exposed to, right? Sometimes as marketer, we are very creative. We're like, hey, we can do this, we can do that, and that. But we don't know. Sometimes we are not all fair. We with the framework or the legal framework that we should work within. And I think this legal framework is really put together to actually to protect our listeners or the target audience out there. So there you have it. Today we are here to learn from you, Professor Ang. Please take on.
Okay, yeah, thanks, Roger. Yeah, Roger is so flattering. My wife cannot recognize me after the introduction. And although I'm in communication, sometimes my wife doesn't understand me either. So I wonder sometimes, what is communication aspect of it. But thanks, Roger, for the very flattering and generous introduction. Okay, so I'm out. It looks like San Francisco behind me, but there's a virtual background, messy background. So I've asked Roger to allow me to do this. Before that, I had a Star Wars background, which looked kind of wilder. So I thought, okay, maybe just take this background now. Okay, so let me go to the slides. Unfortunately, where I am, I'm not able to control my slides, and I'm going to ask the person behind helping me to run the slides. Okay, so let me begin the title first. Although I do say, getting legally right, actually it is more ethical than law, but because there's a legal component. In other words, if you breach the ethics, it is possible that you will be fined, you can be sued. And so that's why I'm going through this and calling it the legal part of it. Okay, so let me go next slide, please. The next slide, please. Yeah. Sorry, I can't confirm this slide. Yeah. Okay. So what we have in social media is that there's a problem here. Okay. The problem is that ad expenditure is rising. Next slide. Next slide. Yeah, and you can see it rising on a global scale, right? So that's so why is it a problem? Okay, next slide, please. Okay, the problem is that it's not going to your traditional media. Okay, traditional media, the thing about it is that it's very well regulated. You know how it runs. It's very well the police, so that the ads there are sort of mostly not all entirely, but mostly trustworthy. Next slide. Okay, you can see this. No, it's not the COVID downturn. Now, we all hope that the COVID downturn will look like this. Unfortunately, it's newspaper circulation. Okay, so we want our COVID to be newspaper circulation. Our newspaper circulation to be like the the viral curve. Okay, next slide. Okay, look, even pay TV subscribers, right, declining, although not so badly compared to the newspaper, but you can see how it is declining. Even for pay TV subscribers, right? People are cutting the cord. Yeah, the COVID downturn here. Yeah, exactly. You want to see it happening here, is Roger saying. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, so the things that it is going to the online and the social media. Okay, and that's a problem because in online and social media, the ads are not always trustworthy. That's because the nature of it. You can, people can say things and out of any kind of regulation or control. Next slide, please. But despite that, we cannot ignore the social media for these reasons, right? A lot of people use social media. More than 3/4 of Singaporeans. I don't know who the other quarter are. Okay, I know my mother is one of them. I think Roger's talking about his mom, the same thing, right? So most people use social media. You can see 2 hours a day, right? It's on average. So some will spend more, maybe some less spend more. And then 2/3, right, say they've been influenced by social media to buying a product or service. And I myself, I feel that I've went to some reviews, looked around, and then bought some things, right? And you can see that online stores say that a big amount of traffic comes from social media. Okay, you can know this, right? And I'll talk a bit about knowing this. 40% of brand people trust the recommendations you get from social media because the social media comes through from people whom they have followed, whom they have viewed on a regular basis. Okay, and so one of the things that the brands are concerned about is that actually, if you want to promote your brand, it is better to use social media than you yourself promote yourself, right? It is sort of like own self promote own self, not going to work, right? You better use social media, okay? And then you can see how that 22%, almost a quarter, right, of people ignore what is posted by brands. So in other words, if you are a company and you're going to promote yourself, whatever you put out, 1/4 will be sent out and ignored by people whom you're trying to reach, right? So this tells you why you do need to consider social media, right? There are two main reasons, okay? So first, apart from the fact that you can influence or not, but two main reasons. First is that you can measure the result of social media marketing. In fact, online marketing you can measure already, but social media can track even more closely. Okay, so and this tracking is very important because it tells you how your money is being spent, how effective your advertising budget is, right? So this is very important. The greater ability to measure is a major reason why a lot of ads are going online, right? So it's a very, very important reason. The second one is that, especially on social media, that's where everybody's at, right? You think about the 3/4 of people who are using social media, right? That's where they're at. And you look at, remember the downturn, right? In the newspaper circulation and your TV subscribers, right? That's not where people are at. So you have to be where people are at, and so you are, going there. Next slide, please. Next slide. Okay, so I need to introduce one term. It's called engagement, and I'll come explain to why this is an important term. So in the social media, one of the ways to measure is engagement, which means your total likes and comments, or whatever people say, right? They click something, they comment, and ideas that people are motivated enough to do something beyond just sort of reading, right? If you look at newspaper ads, you just read, or TV ads, just view, you don't do anything, right? And then you divide it by number of followers. So we assume that people who are following are quite motivated. So the total engagement rate is a percentage, right? Engagement rate is a percentage. Okay, next slide. This slide tells you how engagement works. In other words, how motivated people are to respond, right? So if you look at taking Instagram as an example, just an example, it's common across, right? The same pattern would follow. On your right-hand side, you have 1 million followers. Okay, on the left-hand side, your nano influencers, 1 to 5,000 influencers, right? In between, you can see that at the bottom, at the way bottom left, the nano influencers they have a very high engagement rate, 5.8, 5.6%. On the right-hand side, your mega influencers, very low engagement rate. Although, of course, if you look at absolute numbers, the absolute numbers are huge, right? So 0.5 of 1 million is more than 5% of 5,000, right? It's different. But the percentage is where you're at. Because you're wasting. In other words, you are keeping your money and you're using the money well. So that's the thing, right? Now the issue with this is that for large influencers, right, it is easier. In a theory, I come to in a bit. It's easier to so-called regulate them. Let's get them to be honest, to be sure that they're doing the right things. The nano influencers, anybody can be a nano influencer, right? And that's where this issue arises. The nano influencers are the ones, sometimes we call them cowboys because they go wild, see? Wild west, right? So they anyhow shoot, So they are the ones who can create problems for the industry as a whole, right? So in other words, you want the engagement, right? But these are the small influencers. You want the big influencers there, but the big influencers, they can sort of manage. So the small influencers are the ones that can cause problems for the big influencer as a whole. And I'll come to this in a bit. Okay, the next slide. Okay, so for viewers, okay, the viewers want two things. And this is really critical, and especially because there's actually a cultural change. So viewers want to distinguish between editorial and advertising. This is clear from all the research, all the readings, right? People get kind of angry and upset when they feel they've been misled, okay? And actually, there's some research showing that this generation, people, your X, Y, Z, they get very upset when they're misled, sort of being unauthentic or inauthentic, sort of bait and switch, right? They do not want to be clickbait, okay? So they get very upset with this. And in fact, some research showing that, for example, if you tell people about cigarette smoking, right? It's easier to tell them to stop smoking, okay, easier to tell them to stop smoking by showing that the big companies have been misleading them than to tell them that cigarette smoking causes problems and diseases. So the misleading part of it is very somehow for this group of people, our young people, my daughters, her friends, this group of people, being misled is pretty major deal. They get upset with this. Okay, next slide. Okay, but remember I told you just now that for the small companies, right, small entities, small influencers, it is very easy to be tempted to so-called cheat. I mean, just exaggerate a little bit, you know, still untrue. Okay, and that's where the problem is, right? So once you put out a message on the internet, it is where everybody wants to be, right? Right. Your first of all, the ads, right, there's a sort of a certain level of distrust, well, at a minimum uncertainty. You don't know whether the ad's true or not, right? So that's some uncertainty. And then on the internet, as you know, that things happen on the internet. So the medium itself, there's a level of distrust there. So together, you can see how this issue compounds. You put an ad, which is the validity is uncertain on a medium, when the validity is also uncertain, right? This is doubly compounding it. Okay. So this is a famous case. Okay, Singtel and Gush Cloud. I won't go into this, and because of our time, just put out one newspaper an article from Straits Times dated March 2015, right? This whole saga where Singtel, I think it's probably the biggest capitalized company in Singapore right now. The CEO had to apologize for negative marketing working with Gush Cloud, right? This came out in March 2015. Okay, and this was the case of the influencers being told to smear the rival telcos, right? M1 and StarHub. So it tells you this is a result of this kind of campaigns. Okay, I don't think many people know this, but when this happened, the industry, this social media influencer industry, froze for 3 months. It is exactly like a lockdown for 3 months. The budgets in the area dropped to zero. In other words, nobody is making money in the social media influencer space. Okay, but I was expecting some problems. Okay, I was expecting some problems, and I tell next why I was expecting problems. Okay, Roger, after burst your balloon that you said I'm all totally I'm grounded, right? As a professor at NTU, cannot be totally grounded. I just cannot be a professor, right? So I have to give you some things airy-fairy. Okay, but this is interesting airy-fairy story. This is George Akerlof. It's a photo of him on Wikipedia that tells you how big time he is to be on Wikipedia, right? His is a very interesting article because he won a Nobel Prize 2001, sorry, because of that article. And I happened to kind of stumble upon him just a bit before they introduced him, and then he became big time. So I can discover him before he became really big time, right? His article is interesting because when he first came out, nobody believed him. And in fact, his article got published in a lower ranked journal. So in fact, of all the Nobel Prize winners, it is possible that his is an article that was published in the lowest ranked article at the time. But his article, when it was published, was very quickly cited. And in fact, it's probably now the most cited article by Nobel Prize winning economists. Okay, so article basically says this, right? The headline I put there, right? That the title is called Market for Lemons. That asymmetric information destroys the market. Okay, so let me tell you what this. So now you can look it up on Wikipedia. Okay, what his theory says, right? His theory says that. Next slide, please. His theory says that when there's asymmetric information, okay, you will lose credibility in the industry, right? And the market will be destroyed. Okay, so here's how it works. There's a buyer and seller. The buyer knows the situation. The seller knows the situation. The buyer does not. There's asymmetric information. There's only one side knows, the other side doesn't know, right? When this is the way the market relies on information, this asymmetry will destroy the market. And this is exactly what happened in advertising, right? Think about this, right? In advertising, the advertiser knows the quality of the product or service. You, the buyer, do not, right? The market tends to, not always, tends to be destroyed. So this is exactly what happened in Singtel Gush Cloud case. Because the market didn't trust the information, the entire market froze. Like, if you are thinking about this, right? This bad publicity about social media, what should you advertise? Nobody believes you. So that's why the market froze, the entire market froze for 3 months. At the time, I was expecting problems. So in fact, we drafted an outline, a skeleton of a social media code. I knew that if I talked to them before this problem, nobody would listen to you. But once the problem erupted, spoke to them, and of course, they all started talking, yeah, let's talk, okay? So that's when the social media guidelines came out. So important to keep in mind, if you are in this space, right, if you do not abide by a code, right, so this is Ecolof's remedy, right? The way to get out of this problem, to prevent the market from being destroyed, is to actually have some rules. Okay, the rules set the minimum standards. The rules punish the sellers who cheat. That's basically right. Different ways of punishment. It doesn't mean cane, go to jail, whatever, hanging, whatever, right? It is, in this case of advertising, it is bad publicity or some kind of form of suspension of ad, which can lead to financial loss. Right? Okay. So next slide. So this is the context by which these guidelines came out. Okay, it is actually, strictly speaking, a set of guidelines, right? And ASAS or ASAS is under case. It's a committee formed by case. There are right about 24, 25 of us on the council. I'm the chairman of the council right now. And what we do is that we administer this code, right? So the code, the guidelines tell you which ads should not run. So if you ask me what is the result if you run the ads, if you run an ad that violates the code, right? We will tell the advertiser to don't advertise with you, stop the ads, and then to pull out the ads. So that's the financial penalty. You may do whatever you want because social media, we can't control you. But what it means is there is no financial benefit if you continue to violate the code. Okay, the key thrust of the guidelines, so that this builds on advertising regulation. And like I mentioned, advertising has a tendency to self-destruct, right? The market tends to be destroyed. So we're trying to avoid destruction of the market. And so the way to go about it is, as Ecolab mentioned, right? Honesty, transparency to create trust. Okay, next slide. Okay, so the guidelines, in this case of these social media guidelines, right? Social media, online media guidelines applies to media owners. So if you own a platform, you own some media that applies to you, applies to ad agencies. By the way, if you are big enough or you can afford an ad agency, I would highly recommend them. These guys are really good. They know the market very well. They know the laws very well. They get right to the edge of the law. So you are both compliant as well as creative. I'm really, really impressed by these guys, right? If you own a brand, you're doing social media influencer, yes, be careful, because if you do foul, you get publicized for that. It's not good for your brand. And then, of course, if you are an influencer, you should know the guidelines, right? Because if you do not follow the guidelines, eventually the financial rewards will stop. The companies will avoid you. Next slide. Okay, so the guidelines do not apply. Okay, we exempt, right? Your consumer reviews, that means your non-paid consumer reviews. We exempt retweets, we exempt sharing, we exempt likes. So there are some exemptions, what we call earned media. So if your media is not posted by you, it's earned, organic, then the code doesn't apply the exemption to that. Okay, next slide, please. These next few slides, I'm going to go through a little more technical. And so if you are in this space and you want to use the social media influencers, do read up on this. And like I said, the people who really know this stuff well are the ad and marketing agencies guys in this space. They're really, really good. Okay, so the main thing is this, that you should identify your messages, right? And identify messages that these are commercial messages, right? So I'm going to, it's a big picture. Don't try and cheat, because I will tell you honestly, you do gain in the short run. In other words, you cheat, you gain in the short run. But if you're in a business for the short run, I mean, the people set up pop-up shops and then run away, right? So that's possible. But if you're in this for the long run, it's not good for you, right? So this is what Ecolab is saying, that the market eventually will be destroyed. If you continue to cheat in the long run, your market will be destroyed. Next slide, 3.1c. Next slide. Okay, yeah. So these are examples of where the issue of, is there a kind of commercial relationship or not, right? Even samples, friendly favors, okay? So we're talking about even dog gifts, right? If you're giving some debate, and I think the influencers, in fact, want to indicate that if they were given dog gifts, you want to disclose it somewhere. But there's some kind of commercial relationship. Next slide. Okay, right. So any kind of payment in kind, okay, cash or kind, you have to indicate. And whole point, of course, is to be sure that you indicate, potential, buyers. Okay, next slide, 3.1d. All right. Okay. Okay, this one was a bit controversial, and frankly, I myself was not in favor of it. But I think the committee was in favor that if you genuinely believe the product, you can post it, right? If you genuinely say, I'm the influencer, I was ambassador for this product, and then after that, the thing stopped, right? And then can I carry on? You know, yeah, you can carry on. Before it stops, I genuinely believe it. Can I praise it? Yes, you can, but you just disclose our relationship, right? So you can carry on, you know, with whatever you wanted to do if you genuinely believed it. But if you have a relationship, disclose it. If you don't have, then it's okay, don't disclose it. Okay, next slide. Next, I'll tell you next that the platforms are very conscious of this. The platforms know George Akerlof's law. They know it very, very well. And because they literally get billions from this, they're very careful that their platforms are trusted. You can see why this works, right? You can see why Facebook, Google are moving so that their platforms are trusted. This is 2016, right? You can see 2016 that Amazon was moving to ban incentivized so-called honest reviews. These honest reviews are like, suppose you have a book, right? You send somebody to review and you say, okay, you may keep the book, it's given to you, you know, it's incentive for you. Or okay, maybe the book's not so interesting. Say some equipment, right? Say, okay, now say vacuum cleaner, Dyson vacuum cleaner, expensive, right? Given to you to review, right? And what Amazon is saying that no, they do not allow this incentivized reviews. Okay, next slide. Right, and the reason is that they found that they were more likely to be favorably biased. Right, this is from Amazon itself. Amazon's data. Right, they found that tendency to be favorably biased. Right? Okay, next slide. And then here again talking about details as to how you identify the messages. Okay, not to be misleading, descriptor, right? Not to conceal a commercial nature. Okay, right. Next slide. Okay, here do not create content that appears to come from credible source. Okay, so this is your fake reviews. There are various terms for this, the sock puppet and whatever. So there are various ways this can be done. So the point is not the point is to avoid these fake reviews, and also because the platforms are working to hunt this down. Okay, next slide. Okay, yeah. So ensure you respect the rules of the platforms as well. Okay, so again, I think it's clear the industry is moving to tidy up this whole space. Okay, next slide. This next one, I want to show you all some ways that companies are identifying, right? This one is interesting because it gives 4 different examples. And so I did a screenshot of this one. Okay, click the next one. Yeah, you click the circle. Click, please. Yeah, okay, so first one, you can see the credit cards and search ads. So this tells you that this is actually an advertisement. Okay, so this tells you how they do it, right? In search ads, okay? Then you click the next one. It says a sponsored links, right? So another way of doing it, click the next one. Yeah, curated by. So it tells you again that these are commercial messages. Curated by means that somebody put it together. It may or may not be hardcore commercial messages, but it came from a commercial sponsor. And the last one, okay, that's a commercial site that tells you that this site was promoting itself. So 4 different ways that you can do it. For example, here to identify commercial messages. This is from the Straits Times. I mean, these guys are very, very careful with the advertising because that's where the money is, right? So again, you want to maintain the integrity of your so-called, in this case, of media, but otherwise a platform. Next slide, please. Okay, so when you do this, be sure that whatever you do, you update your users. Because sometimes people need over enthusiasm, do exaggerate or forget to add some things there. So just be careful about this. And then yeah, so if you have employees, you're creating social media accounts for yourself, your company. Do not this. Yeah. Okay. Next one. Okay. Disclosures, yeah. So the next lot, I'm going to talk about disclosures, what you need to disclose beyond just your hashtags. Huh? Okay, next slide. Okay, disclosures are statements that are longer. Say that some kind of qualifier, or let's say a promotion, and then it's for limited time or limited amount of money, or the first 100 or whatever. Make sure it is marked there, and you have a link to it, for example, right? So these are disclosures. So make sure it's clear, right? Clear language, right? Next one. I'm running short on time, so I'm going to move pretty quickly next. Okay. Okay, so clear, right? You should have prominent, easy to understand, right? It's big content, it clearly shows, right? We've had some cases where people try to obscure some of these qualifiers and disclosure, and it's not good in the long run. It just, you know, spoils your own campaign, you know, spoils the time you needed to run your campaign. Next slide. Yeah, so if you are using audio again, so you can see that the contents are quite detailed, right? That you have your disclosures for audio, for video, make sure it's appropriate for your purpose. Okay, right. Okay, it's a commercial element clear. So this example I just picked up recently, okay, it's from Hari Raya. You can see how they do it on Facebook, right? See how the word ad, is highlighted in orange, right? So it's in a way obscure, but in a way also clear. I mean, it's quite amazing. These guys are, you know, clever. It is not red, so it tells you it's not part of their own original font, right? Neither is it black or white, so it's not part of what the person posting has put, but clearly marked out in it's orange, so that tells you it is highlight to you, but also in a way that's tastefully done, right? And the colors is really tastefully done. So you can see how these things can be done well without necessarily being jarring, right? And you look at this, you know, okay, you know there's an ad, but the ad, and it looks interesting. In fact, I would say if you have time, look at this ad. It's a very well done ad. Okay. Next one. Next slide. Yeah. Okay. Is it clear? And then the one that we put is what sort of outrage will it create if disclosure is withheld? And you can see in this case, right? This was remember the bear at Ulu Pandan. I was living in Ulu Pandan at that time. I was like, wow, there's a bear neighborhood. Singapore, a wild bear. I mean, I thought, you know, North Pole or jungle, there's a wild bear there, right? And it wasn't. It was a stunt. And the company was Philips. They had to apologize. So you imagine, right? I mean, if you were the person running there, you'd be sacked, right? I mean, and probably deserved to. The police came out and neighborhood were frightened, you know. So you can see how without the disclosure, in this case, can create, in this case, was outrage. A lot of people just angry at the company and at the company that did the ad. Okay, next slide. Okay, this one is the issue of disclosure. And again, like I said, the guidelines are quite thorough here, right? The disclosure, if you can write long, right? You can put, these are the words examples you can put, right? And this are, again, the whole point is to show you that there's not one prescribed way of putting these disclosures, right? It can be done and earlier, this is a tasteful way of doing it. And these are texts that you can use so that it's right. When you write it, it's very clear to whoever's viewing it that this is you know, an advertisement of some sort. The next slide. Okay, this one is about. Sorry, go back. Sorry, I supposed to go back one. Yeah. Okay, the next slide. Okay, yeah, okay, this one, okay, sorry, yeah, right, click. Okay, so this one is to show you that if you have length constraints, right, there are ways to do this. Okay, anyway, without length constraint. Next one, okay, yeah. So you can write this to thank the sponsor, right, and it's a form of disclosure. Okay, so there are ways, again, on this emphasize ways of writing this so that it's clear for the viewer. Next slide, please. Okay, so if you have a limited length, so I was thinking this is the one I'm looking at. Okay, the limited length, you would put in, like, especially Twitter, right? Your hashtag ADV, hashtag SP, hashtag sponsor, hashtag endorse. There are other ways to use them, right? But if you have a long, your space is not constrained, you shouldn't be using these, right? These are to be used when you do not have space. So how is it used? Let me give you an example. The next slide. Okay, so this is our friend Kim Kardashian. I think she's the biggest influencer in the world, a few million people. And when I had 950,000 likes, okay, it's likes, it's not just followers, right? These are just likes, right? Almost 1 million likes, okay? 950,000 means, you know what, like almost 4 Amokyo, you know? 4 Amokyo, every man, woman, and child, Amokyo clicking and liking her. Imagine that. That's how big she is. Okay, click the next, click. Okay, yeah, you can see that she put an ad and sponsored. Okay, and she puts it there, okay, to tell you that it's sponsored, right? And again, this is how you would do it. It shows you how it can be done and still, get paid for doing this, right? So hers is really an amazing case. Okay, next slide. Okay, so there are ways again to indicate your disclosure. Okay, so I've given you different ways of indicating your disclosure. Next slide. Okay, so the issue of obligations, right? So who make sure this all this happens, right? So if for you in marketing doing this, yes, you are the one responsible. And if you do not do this, right, what happens? And I've seen this happen a few times, right? People try to skirt, right? Basically, your campaign is foiled, is spoiled. Okay, so in other words, you are rolling some things out, the products in the pipeline, the distribution channels all filled up already, right? And then your campaign is stopped. Imagine that, right? So this is what happens when you do not comply, right? Because people say that your ads do not comply, therefore the ad should be stopped. So there you have things are ready to roll, and the ads get stopped, and that is a penalty. So in fact, you have to tell people that yes, in the advertising industry, we do not fine people, we do not punish them in physical way, but they pay a price. That is the cost of having this ad campaign stopped. Some cases, yes, we know people have been fired from companies, okay, because they didn't comply with the rules. It happens, okay, it does happen, okay. So the marketers should be the one behind this. Then your bloggers, your networks, agencies will then follow, okay. Advice one another. So these are one another being the whole group, right? Advising. ASAS ASAS also has a way whereby if you're uncertain, say if you're not sure whether the ads are tasteful or not, you may send it to us. There are some fees and quick turnaround time. Also 2 weeks is safe, can be the 1 week, but depending on how complicated it is. But there's a turnaround time and then some way to be sure that the ads are okay before they run. We get a lot of these, by the way, for the Halloween, because they want to be sure that the Halloween ads run. We have some cases where the Halloween ads are really, really scary, like children, so scared children scream. That's not good for publicity, because then your parents will then not send the children there. Like, okay, this thing's so scary that my daughter screaming like, oh, don't send my children there, right? So that's bad for you. So you want it to be scary, but not so scary that children are turned off. So that's where the ASAS Council comes in. The ASAS Council, by the way, comes from people in the industry. They've been in the industry for a long time. I really respect them. Been given very, very sound judgments as a group. Okay, next slide. Okay, so what happens if you add breaches, right? So what happens? You will be asked to amend the ad, your marketing campaign, right? You may be asked to stop. Okay. And we will tell the association to be full privileges from the marketer, meaning that don't run this campaign for them. Possible to adverse publicity, not so common now because it's quite quick turnaround. People tell you something is wrong, and it's just experts in marketing tell you, then you probably should listen. But it just happened that people will run the ads. We had one case, a weight loss company, and we told the company that the ad was distasteful. The company ran on YouTube. Words got slammed by netizens. Okay, in fact, now I'm looking for it to show my students, but I can't find it now, taken off completely. But there was massive negative publicity on YouTube. Even worse, actually, right? Just listen. And then the legal part comes in that with ad breaches, it is possible to be referred to case, and then under Consumer Protection Fair Trading Act, you can be sued, right? And in fact, there's now the CCCS, like Competition and Consumer Commission, looking into this area of advertising, right? So that's now under this whole area is now under CCCS, the CPFTA, the law there. It's a potential for some legal sanctions. Okay. Come to the end now. Okay, so there's what I call no whataboutism, right? We get this a lot, like, hey, my competitor is worse, he does this, Go back, please. Yeah, not this one. Go back. Is it there? Yeah. Okay, this one. Yeah. So no whataboutism, right? So it's like the policeman friend tells me this. I stop somebody from speeding, and then the other guy, what about the other guy speeding? That's not good. I'm saying that he's worse. But you as an organization, you don't benchmark yourself against the worst, right? Or even the average. You benchmark the highest, right? So it's quite clear. So there's no such a thing as whataboutism. What about my competitor? Yeah. So don't benchmark against the worst. Yeah. We get this a lot. Okay, next slide. fraud. Okay, this one, the industry is very, very careful. So I would say be very cautious not to do this now. There are ways that this is happening, and people are finding ways to stop this from happening. It is mentioned in our code, the guidelines, the fraud, and it can now be detected. Analytics can detect fraud. You can see the fraud happening there. Next slide. You can buy influencers. It's great. You can see how many they're online, and this is just one. I just did a quick search, and you can see you can buy influencers. But you can detect. You can see the what we call your step ladder. You know, it's not smooth. The curve's not smooth. It's just very bumpy. You can tell right away. Next slide. Okay. Companies are aware and are taking action. I'm going to stress again. So be careful. Don't do that. Okay, literally could be banned from the platforms. Okay. Next slide. Okay, coming to the end now, the summary. So in summary, basic thing is to be honest in this space. And I've shown you why if you are not honest, you will get penalized. Okay. So identify your message as commercial if it is. Okay, you can honest opinion. This is our code. Not all the codes in the world have this. Huh? We know that ours is a bit unusual in having this. That if you have honest opinion, you generally believe the product is good. You can state it, but declare a commercial relationship. Okay. Disclosure statements should be easily prominently displayed. And then finally, in the end, okay, this is George Akerlof's Nobel Prize winning economist point that in the end, cheaters don't prosper. Okay, it can be a long time, but it will happen, right? So if you're in it for long run, don't do this, right? Okay. So with that, thank you for your attention. Yeah.
Hi, Prof. Wow. Yeah, I was sharing with you just last week. We actually, well, my company, we actually do a bit of social media engagement, and we've got just signed up 2 influencers. I think this certainly comes in very, very helpful. And for the viewers out there or attendees out there, it really helps you to identify which is an ad or paid ad or which is not. You know, I think thanks, Prof. Wow, this is a great takeaway today. I think as responsible corporate citizens, all right, we owe a duty of care to really our consumers or to the public out there in being honest, transparent, so to gain their trust. All right, I think you know, no point doing something that's really, or sometimes they can put up things that are very vague. So I think it's really about gaining the trust through authentic communications. Thanks, Prof. This is excellent. Okay, at this time, we will open up the Q&A to the floor. So if you've got any questions at all, please feel free to actually post it on our Q&A panel. Okay, so keep the questions coming. This is a rare chance. Prof, I was sharing with my team, if not because of COVID lockdown, Prof Ang will be very busy. So during this period of time, please get hold of him to be our webinar speakers. And I think seriously, well, it really set us into thinking. And Prof, I'm really amazed. I think by both of our age, we are actually digital migrants. But you are very connected in the area of digital, I think by virtue of your research, and then, you know, as being the chair to the advertising standard, or ASA advertising standard in Singapore itself. I think that's great. You know, very insightful for you to share with us. Which brings me to the next point. This, in fact, we have one of our earlier speakers, early part of this week, Mr. Jack Yao. He's doing standardization, in fact, for almost all industries. This is something that I think they can pick up, you know, in doing a ISO standard on an international platform on how to regulate the influencer. I think that's an excellent platform. I may want to suggest to him if you don't mind, Prof.
Okay, no, sure. I want to add that many people are under the wrong impression that regulation means that you know, you will have a stifling of creativity, and it's not the case. In fact, the whole point of regulation, you can see from Akerlof's principles, right, is to gain trust in the whole sphere and create trust in ecosystem. So in the longer run, it's good for the industry as a whole, because without this set of regulations, the industry will not be able to sustain in the long run. So there's a lot of misunderstanding, and I remember that when it came on the guidelines, even a magazine on marketing was like, oh, will this stifle the industry or not? Will Singapore get out to regulate the industry or not? And it is not. In fact, by having the rules in place, the guidelines in place, it actually helps the industry, because then the industry can get back and moving again. So in fact, we want this area to grow, right? We want the area to grow. My own interest, of course, that my students are funded, right? Work in the media, they're funded by advertising in the end. We want the advertising industry, the advertising space to be trustworthy, to be trusted. People advertise, people respond, right? We want the whole ecosystem to be stable and growing and flourishing. So we need some guidelines, but in a way that balances. It's true that you can overdo it, it's true, but I don't think that we are overdoing it. A lot of countries are looking into this space, and I think that we are the right point in time, to be at the edge, leading edge, I would say, looking into this space.
True, Prof. I think, that's a very good statement. I think at this stage itself, like what you said, regularizing the whole industry, it's not about punishing. It's really about creating trust. So I think that's a good angle to come in. You can be creative, but at the same time, just work within the what I would say, not legal, but rather be authentic itself about your product and really work on the virtues of the product rather than on your on competition. Sometimes I think we get a bit more over the top with trying to compare yourself and the competitor's product. Sometimes it will work against you, I find, especially with our attendees or with the Gen X, Gen Y, and Gen Z itself. They are really digitally connected. They can always find out.
Yeah.
So the last step you want to know is you spend so much in your campaign, and at the end of the day, it doesn't relate. The trust is not being built. Great, Prof. So, okay, do we have any other questions from the floor? All right, Prof, I probably want to ask one question on my own from my side. Okay, I think as influencer itself, I think they know that they make a living out of it. Sometimes, if the advertisers will to really enforce on them that, hey, you have to say something and things like that, are there avenues for them to actually address to the advertisers or the agency itself, and what are the avenues that are being made available to them from the
Yeah, sorry, no, there isn't much by way of recourse. Yeah, I know it's a commercial relationship. So if the advertiser wants to, force a certain message, then it's really up to the influencer to walk away. And sorry to say, but in the longer run, because the big companies are the ones that tend to be more ethically aware, the big companies are the ones that would be the one in the long run anyway. That would come back to such influencers. I've had some people ask me this point exactly. In fact, some companies asking how, and I try to hang on. And in fact, they've seen a turnaround. In fact, this company, I remember this person came, I won't mention the name, the person came and then I spoke to my class and was complaining about how, struggling, how that's. I said, hang on. The next year she came back. In fact, this year, this person came back and told me that the business had grown 100%, in fact, 100%. So this is really, really good news in the point of view of a company in a way. For actual individual influencers can be a bit challenging, I will admit, but the point is try and hang on because especially Singapore, such a small place, people know. So if you start cheating, you'll be found out sooner or later, and so it's not good for you in the long run. Yeah.
True, Prof. It's about the credibility, right? Being an influencer itself, you probably will have your followers and probably your credibility. Really, I would not compromise credibility for any profit gain. In any case, on being authentic itself. Yeah, I think that's an excellent topic. We couldn't hear enough, Prof. We wanted you to go on.
Okay.
Nevertheless, we can always look out for more from Prof. Ang itself through his work. I believe some of his work probably on YouTube itself. So thank you, Prof. Ang. Thanks so much. You deserve a big round of applause from us. Wow. I certainly gain a lot from today's sessions because I do manage some influencer. So yes, thanks, Prof. Ang, again, through his topic on marketing through social media, getting it legally right. Now, I know some of you probably will wonder, hey, is Prof. Ang a trainer with the Marketing Institute of Singapore? Not yet. To acquire him as a trainer. Because there's so much to learn from him. Every time I talk to him, I'm able to pick up something. So, Prof. Ang, maybe you want to consider towards a certain point of your career when you're probably slowing down, you can choose MIS Marketing Institute of Singapore as a platform. As Prof. Ang, you know that we are a not-for-profit body itself. So hopefully we'll be able to join our suite of traders. It's so exciting. I promise you that I'll be there for your course. You take out the executive training program as our trainer itself. Thank you so much. Thanks, Prof. All right, so let's touch on tomorrow. Who's coming up for tomorrow? Can I have the slides for tomorrow, please? Yes. As you can see, tomorrow will be Mr. Donald Lim. Let's hope that, let's pray very hard. I think I need all of you there to help me to pray. That tomorrow the network will be great, because it's coming from Manila, Philippines. We do have an issues when I think on Monday itself, where our speakers comes from China itself, where we're experiencing a drop in terms of network bandwidth. But hopefully next week, tomorrow, Donald, with Donald itself, we will not be able to face, we will not face the same kind of scenario or situation. So Donald will be touching on building business resiliency during COVID-19. Now, Donald is someone that I know him. I have very high respect for this guy. Young chap, at least younger than me. We both like to wear black. For those who knows me, you know I like black, right? My whole wardrobe is about black. So yeah, he's excellent speaker, and you should hear from him. Do not miss out. Don't miss out on tomorrow's session. Okay, I highly recommend that. And of course, to some of our attendees, I think you know. Thank you. Thanks. Can I have the next slide, please? Thanks. Tomorrow will be around the same time at around 12:30. So and this is our suite of speakers for our third series of webinar. After Donald will be Allen's, and you'll be touching on the importance of design thinking. And of course, Bhavik. So Bhavik will be touching on the leadership guide to building a strategic brand narrative. Okay, good. Now, like what we said, we are not just going to stop there. We're going to have our fourth series, okay? So fourth series itself, you will probably hear me speaking. Do you want that? To tell you more about events. If you want it, then post it on our Facebook. Let me see how many likes or how many requests. If it's okay, then I'll probably put out one sessions on to share with you on effective events management, which have been in this life for 20 years. Okay. Or did I disclose my age? I didn't. Okay, right. Okay, do look out on our collaboration with the Asia Marketing Federation on the Asia Marketing Day, 2020. It's like we'll celebrate the 89th birthday of Professor Philip Kotler. And of course, we have our keynote speakers, Mr. Hamawan Kartajaya. Now, as you realize that it's going to be from 10:30 to 4 p.m. Singapore time. So are we having Mr. Hamawan, which is the founder of Asia Marketing Federation, to speak? Well, no, of course not. It will not be possible. So we're gonna have we're gonna put up the time schedule. We're gonna divide the whole day into 3 regions of webinar sessions. First being East Asia, or Northeast Asia itself, which will be hosted by our VP, Vice President, Mr. Kim from Korea. So it involves countries such as China, Mongolia, Japan, and regions such as Taiwan, Hong Kong, Macau, just to name a few. Okay, so that will start the early part of the webinar, and the middle part, which is at 12:30, same time as our Singapore time, 12:30, where we will start our ASEAN caucus, which will be hosted by Professor Hui Tian Huan. Okay, one of our foundation member itself. Professor Hui has also authored a couple of books together with Hamawan Kartajaya, and so you would like to hear more from him. He will be moderating the sessions where all the ASEAN's national marketing associations, the presidents of the marketing associations, will be coming in to share on a topic. And of course, last but not least, at around 2:30 Singapore time, we will be having the South Asia that will be hosted by none other than Professor Fahad from the Bangladesh Marketing Association. So, yeah, do catch up on us. Lock your date, 27th of May. If you have nothing going on, you can always join us at 10 o'clock. It's going to start at 10:30, but however, the room will open for registration. You don't have to register, just pop on into the room at 10 o'clock, okay? And you can see the QR code over there, scan. But do find out more, right? I think tomorrow or perhaps the next day, I'll be able to share with you all the topics which very related to our current situation on COVID-19, okay? So I think it's a session not to be missed on the 27th of May, starting from Singapore time, 10:30 right up to 4 p.m. Okay, right. So next, MIS Executive Development Program. I'm not going to say much on this. I've been talking about this in the beginning. So do log on to our website to find out how you can join us in our executive program. All right, and looking at more than 120 overcourse, over 9 major disciplines. Now, MIS, we're going virtual right now, right? So you can always take up all these courses at the comfort of your home. That's great. Okay. All right. So let's go on to the next slide, please. Diploma. Look at our advanced diploma in digital marketing. That's something that's interesting. So it's going to be our first run on our advanced diploma in digital marketing, and we already have quite a few inquiries. So it's a diploma, advanced diploma, not to be missed. All right. So how else can you be a certified digital marketer? It's through getting a academic qualifications through our MIS Business School. All right. So reach out to us via the phone number that's actually on the screen right now. Okay, next, please. Join us as a member, associate members itself. Like what we said, I don't find a reason why you can't join us right now. We're giving it free. And of course, we want the right people to join us. Okay, so it'll be ending soon. So look out on how you can join us as a member and benefit from the courses that we are offering. You will be able to get about up to 20 to 30% off on our courses, okay, on our virtual learning course. Right, next. Mass donation. Can I have the next slide, please? Right, do join us in our corporate social responsibility project where we are getting donations from you. If you can, help us in our donations drive. All right, click on to the QR code. It's just $20 spent on a box of masks to be sent to our neighboring countries. We're looking at Manila, Philippines. Sorry. So working closely with our counterparts over there to get it distributed to the underprivileged. Okay, so we have reached the end of our sessions today. So do remember, before we leave, let's give thanks to Professor Ang again. Thank you, Prof. I really appreciate today's time. It's well spent. Okay, so do see you, all of you again, same time tomorrow at 12:30. So please lock on your time. You can always take your lunch at the same time. That's why we call it lunchtime webinar, right? So order your lunch to Grab, or probably you're cooking at home, and join us at 12:30 to 1:30, where we will be hearing from Mr. Donald Lim on building business resiliency during COVID-19. Okay, so we'll see you then.
Make more time.